My name is Vanessa Cole. I'm 35 years old, and this is how I took revenge on the man who called my dream just a phase. And now he answers to me. It started with a simple dinner, a Thursday night. Takeout containers between us, and me, nervous but excited, sliding a folder across the table to my then-husband, Trevor. Inside was something I'd been quietly building for over 6 months. A full business plan for a sustainable skincare line. I'd spent countless nights researching ingredients, sourcing eco-friendly packaging, and sketching out branding ideas while he watched TV in the other room. I thought he'd be proud. I thought he'd see how serious I was. Trevor barely looked up. He flipped the folder open, glanced at the first page, and scoffed mid-bite. "Babe," he said, chewing. "You're creative, sure. But come on. This is just a phase. You'll be over it by next month." I laughed lightly, trying to mask the sting. "It's not a phase. I've been working on this for a while." He raised an eyebrow. "Vanessa, we can't afford for you to play entrepreneur right now. Maybe focus on something more realistic." More realistic. He went back to eating like he hadn't just crushed something I'd poured my soul into. I sat there frozen. Not angry, not even sad. Just hollow. Something in me cracked open. Quiet and sharp. I smiled through it. I nodded. But in that moment, I felt something shift. He didn't just doubt my dream. He dismissed me. Later that night, I lay in bed next to him, eyes wide open while he snored, the glow of his phone screen casting light across the room. I watched his face, peaceful in sleep, and something cold settled into my chest. Not hatred, not bitterness, just a new kind of clarity. I didn't realize it yet, but that was the exact moment he lost me. He just didn't know it yet. I grew up in Ohio, the kind of small town people drive through without noticing. My parents split when I was 7. Dad moved to towns over with a new girlfriend, and Mom worked double shifts just to keep us fed. We were never poor, but things were tight. I learned early how to stretch a dollar, how to make things last, and how to keep myself busy. I was the weird girl in high school who made her own soap and sold lip balms at the school craft fair. I loved chemistry, not the formulas, but the feeling of transformation, of making something from nothing. I started college with a scholarship, planning to study cosmetic chemistry. But I dropped out in my second year when Mom got sick and the bills piled up. I told myself I'd go back. I never did. I married Trevor when I was 24. He was 5 years older, already working in real estate, and to me, he felt like a promise of stability, of normalcy, of finally being taken care of. He wasn't bad to me, not in the beginning. He told me I was refreshing, loved that I didn't need much to be happy. He said he'd always protect me. Back then, I thought that meant he'd believe in me, too. The first few years of marriage were sweet in a safe, quiet way. Trevor encouraged me to get a receptionist job while he focused on growing his sales. I did. I was good at it, friendly, organized, dependable. I made just enough to help with groceries and cable bills. We didn't have kids by choice, though every Christmas someone would bring it up and Trevor would say, "Maybe next year." I never pushed. I figured I had time. What I didn't know was that time was passing without me really living. About 10 years in, something started to ache. Not physically, but in this slow, constant way. Like a part of me had fallen asleep and was just now waking up. I started making soaps again in the kitchen, after dinner, while Trevor watched sports or scrolled Zillow listings. I ordered ingredients online, taught myself modern formulations, spent hours reading about branding, sustainable packaging, SEO. It was slow and messy and exhilarating. I named it Wilder Skin, a nod to what I used to be before I got so tame. But I kept it quiet. Trevor didn't get it. He thought it was cute, like a Pinterest hobby. He'd come into the kitchen and say, "What's all this goo?" Or ask me to pause my mixing because he couldn't find clean socks. My work time wasn't seen as work. It was optional, interruptible, disposable. My best friend Kylie was the only one who really saw me. We met at work, bonded over a broken printer and bad coffee, and she became my outlet. When I showed her my branding mock-ups and ingredient lists, she didn't laugh. She said, "V, this is legit. You have something real here. You just have to finish." I wanted to. I was close. I had a prototype line ready for core products, fully developed. I'd secretly saved just under $3,000 from side gigs and skipped lunches, squirreled away in a separate account. I was learning to build a Shopify store, testing packaging, pricing out wholesale containers. But Trevor still saw me as his cute little wife, someone who kept the fridge stocked and his ego patted. If I stayed up too late working, he'd complain I was distant. If I skipped a dinner out to work on my site, he'd sulk. He once said, half joking, "You'd make a great housewife if you didn't always try to start things." I laughed, but something inside me flinched. It wasn't that he was cruel, it's that he didn't see me. And slowly, I stopped trying to be seen by him. I focused on my dream, one late night at a time, building in silence. Because deep down, I knew the life I wanted wasn't going to be handed to me. I had to take it. It was a Thursday night. I remember because I'd skipped my usual gym class to clean the kitchen and light a candle before he came home. I'd even made his favorite, lemon chicken with roasted potatoes, because I wanted everything to feel right. I had my laptop open at the table, mock-ups neatly arranged, and my pitch rehearsed in my head like I was about to walk into a boardroom. When Trevor walked through the door, loosening his tie, I smiled. "Can we talk about something real for a second?" I asked. He kissed my forehead absently and sat down, already half scrolling through his phone. I launched into it, showed him my product line, broke down the costs, shared supplier quotes, and even a rough budget. I was glowing, proud of the work I'd done. It wasn't perfect, but it was mine. My voice shook a little from nerves, but I stood tall. I told him I wanted to take $5,000 from our joint savings to do a soft launch of Wilder Skin. At first, he just blinked. Then, he laughed. Not a chuckle, a full, surprised laugh like I had just told him I was running off to become a magician. "You're not a businesswoman, Vanessa," he said, between bites of his food. "You're a receptionist. You'll get bored. You always do." I felt the sting in my chest immediately, like a slap I didn't see coming. But he wasn't done. "Come on," he said, waving at my laptop. "Why would I invest in something that's going to fail?" The silence afterward was loud. My throat tightened, but I didn't cry. I just closed my laptop quietly. He went back to his phone like nothing had happened, like my dreams were just another dumb thing I'd get over. 3 days later, I checked our joint account for a bill payment and noticed a withdrawal. $10,000. Gone. I confronted him that night, thinking maybe it was a mistake. Maybe he'd moved it somewhere for a surprise for us. But no, he had invested it in his friend's startup, some ridiculous golf tracking app that already looked like a scam. When I asked him why he didn't talk to me first, he scoffed. "It's my money too," he said. "And this is a real opportunity. You wouldn't understand." I pushed back, and he rolled his eyes. "You're being dramatic, Vanessa. Emotional. It's not a big deal." That night, I stood in the bathroom, staring at myself in the mirror under the fluorescent light. I looked pale, tired, a little older than I remembered feeling just a year ago. But there was something else too. Something sharper. "I'm done asking for permission," I whispered, and in that moment, I meant it. I wasn't his project. I wasn't his cheerleader or his backup plan. I had a vision, a real one, and I was going to build it, whether he believed in me or not. That night, something inside me shifted, something quiet and final. I stopped seeing him as my partner. I started seeing him as dead weight, and I made a plan. The night I finally pitched my business to Trevor, I was electric. I'd spent weeks refining the numbers, building prototypes, even meeting with a local supplier who believed in my formulas. I had mood boards, packaging samples, even a small test website mocked up. I laid it all out on the dining table like a gift. Our future. I thought maybe, just maybe, he'd see what I saw. Instead, he leaned back in his chair, took a bite of takeout, and laughed. Not a chuckle, a full, amused laugh. "You're not a businesswoman, Vanessa," he said, shaking his head like I'd told a joke. "You're a receptionist. You'll get bored. Just stick to your little hobby." My throat burned. I tried to push back, to tell him this wasn't just an idea. It was a plan. It was real. I had customers already. But he waved me off. Already. Scrolling through his phone. Then he dropped it. Why would I invest in something that's going to fail? 2 days later, I logged into our joint account to move money for rent, and saw a $10,000 withdrawal. Gone. Just like that. I confronted him, shaking. His answer: "Relax. I invested it in Brian's golf app. It's a real opportunity." When I told him that money was supposed to be for our emergency fund, he rolled his eyes, called me emotional, said I was always looking for drama, that I was making something out of nothing. That night, I stood in front of our bathroom mirror while he snored in the other room, and I whispered for words to my own reflection. "I'm done asking permission." That was it. The shift. The moment I stopped trying to be understood and started planning how to be undeniable. The day I registered my business under a fake LLC. My hands were shaking so hard I could barely type. I used Kylie's name as the placeholder. She was the only one who knew everything. She helped me get a P.O. box, made sure the domain name wasn't traceable, and even vouched for the tiny $2.00 inventory loan I needed. I worked on Wilder Skin in total silence. Nights, weekends, even stolen hours during my lunch break. I'd sit in my car on lunch breaks printing shipping labels, answering customer DMs, tweaking my web copy. I reinvested every cent. I didn't buy new clothes or eat out or even tell anyone else what I was doing. My life became a tightrope, pretending to be the supportive, passive wife by day, and quietly becoming someone new by night. Trevor had no idea. Or maybe he did. In that strange instinct men get when they sense you're pulling away, even if they don't know why. He started watching me more closely, asking weird questions. "Why are you so tired lately? Who are you texting at night? Why do you always take your laptop to the bedroom?" I brushed it off. "Work emails," I said. "Pinterest rabbit holes." He believed it. Or he wanted to. but I could feel the tension rising like a storm behind his eyes. And his life, it was falling apart. The golf startup, the one he drained $10,000 into without telling me, tanked within 6 months. The guy he trusted ghosted him. Then his real estate firm downsized. And Trevor got let go with no warning. Suddenly, we were behind on credit cards. Our mortgage was late, and he started blaming me. "You don't contribute enough," he said, standing in the kitchen one night while I stirred pasta with trembling hands. "You have all this free time. You could be doing more. As if I wasn't already stretching myself so thin I barely recognized my own reflection. But I didn't fight. I just nodded and kept going. I kept working. I documented everything, every argument, every time he screamed at me for being cold or holding back. I recorded the moment he accused me of cheating because I smiled at my phone. I saved screenshots of our bank statements, where his overdraft fees piled up like proof of his recklessness. Every insult, every tantrum, I archived it. And then came the breakthrough. I applied for a small business grant through a women in entrepreneurship fund. I didn't tell anyone, not even Kylie. I wrote the application in bed one night while Trevor snored beside me, one hand still on his iPad. A month later, I got the email. $25,000. It didn't feel real at first. I had to read it 3 times before I let myself cry. Quiet, trembling sobs in the bathroom at 3 a.m., where he wouldn't hear me. I opened a new business bank account under my LLC and quietly started moving money over. Every grant dollar, every Shopify sale, every Venmo payment from friends and testers who believed in the product. With Kylie's help, I found a small, dusty warehouse space on the outskirts of town. It was ugly. Concrete floors, no windows, bad plumbing. But it was mine. I paid 6 months upfront, bought industrial shelving, and moved my inventory in after. Dark like I was sneaking contraband across a border. Back home, Trevor was spiraling. He'd spend hours on the couch, job hunting in theory, but mostly rage scrolling LinkedIn, complaining about woke hiring and bad luck. He was moody, snappy. His pride had taken a hit, and the only person around to absorb it was me. If I wore lipstick, he'd ask who I was trying to impress. If I came home late, he'd demand to know where I'd been. Not because he thought I was cheating. No, this was something worse. He couldn't understand why I didn't look broken. He didn't know I had something else now, something he couldn't touch. A future, a vision, a secret world where I was thriving. And for the first time in years, I wasn't scared. I was angry. I was done folding myself to make him feel big. I remember standing in the center of that warehouse, surrounded by brown boxes and sticker sheets, breathing in the sharp scent of lavender oil and packing tape, and whispering to myself, "You're almost out," because I was, and he had no idea. Every day, I smiled a little more, and he hated it. The day Trevor was served divorce papers, I wasn't home. I made sure of that. I was at work, or at least that's what he thought. In reality, I was at the warehouse, triple-checking inventory shipments and sipping coffee, with Kylie like it was any other Wednesday. He called me 3 times. I let it ring. Then a text. Asterisk, what the hell is this? Asterisk, I didn't respond. I didn't owe him that anymore. When I finally saw him, he looked like someone had pulled the floor out from under him. His face was pale, hands shaking as he held up the papers like they might disintegrate. "You're divorcing me," he said, like he couldn't believe it, like I was supposed to ask for permission. I just looked at him and said, "I've outgrown this marriage, and I meant it. During the proceedings, I laid everything bare. The business accounts, the grant, the documentation of his emotional abuse, his financial control, the screenshots, the recordings. My lawyer didn't even flinch when we showed the bank transfers from his gambling site. We presented it all. Calm, measured. I didn't need to raise my voice. The facts were louder than anything I could say. And when the judge reviewed everything, she ruled in my favor. Majority asset control. Clean break. No alimony. He was livid, of course. But there wasn't a single thing he could do. A few months passed. I focused on Wilder Skin. I rebranded with help from a designer in Brooklyn. I revamped the product line, expanded the website, leaned into sustainability and community. Then, one day, a mid-tier beauty influencer posted a review unboxing my rose clay mask, casually calling it her new holy grail. That video? It changed everything. Overnight, orders poured in. My email crashed. I had to upgrade our fulfillment software within a week. I moved Wilder Skin into a real downtown office, hired Kylie full-time, started interviewing for customer support, inventory, management, wholesale reps. It was chaotic, exhausting, and thrilling. Every day, I felt like I was catching up to the life I'd always wanted but never believed I could build. And then it happened. Kylie was reviewing job applications when she froze and turned her laptop toward me. "You need to see this, Trevor. Resume attached. Cover letter generic. Applying for our customer service role." He didn't recognize the name. Wilder Skin had never been associated with me publicly. I stared at the email for a long moment, not angry, not hurt, just amused. I scheduled the interview. He walked in looking tired, bloated. His suit didn't fit right, and his smile was weak but practiced. When he saw me behind the desk, his face twitched, just slightly, but he didn't say a word about it. Not even a Vanessa. Just, "Thanks for taking the time to meet with me." I nodded like we were strangers, asked him about his previous work experience, his customer conflict resolution style. He stumbled through his answers, said he was looking to grow with a company that valued integrity. That one nearly made me laugh. I told him we'd let him know by Friday, and I hired him. Not out of spite. Not to humiliate him, but because sometimes the best revenge isn't a dramatic confrontation or a clever one-liner. It's building the empire they said was just a phase and letting them watch you thrive from below. His first day, he sat quietly in the corner cubicle, answering customer emails while my new crew led morning meetings in the conference room next door. He didn't say a word to me. I didn't say much to him. He knew. That was enough. Trevor still works for me. Quiet, polite, careful not to draw attention. He doesn't look me in the eye during team meetings. He doesn't speak unless spoken to. He clocks in, does his job, and leaves like a ghost passing through. And I let him. I pay him fairly. I don't embarrass him. I don't gloat. Not out loud, anyway. But he knows. Every morning, he walks into a building with my name on the door. Every paycheck he cashes has my signature on it. Every product he answers emails about started in my kitchen, in silence, while he laughed at me from the couch. I didn't burn his life down. I just stopped protecting him from the fire he started. These days, I don't just run Wilder Skin. I mentor women. Women like I used to be. Stuck in kitchens and conversations where their dreams were treated like hobbies. I speak on panels. I sit on grant committees. I donate product to shelters. I teach women how to register their LLCs, how to open accounts in their name, how to build in the dark if they have to, until they're ready to shine. I moved into a sunlit apartment with big windows and creaky floors. I got a dog named Olive who sleeps curled at my feet while I answer emails late at night. I eat dinner whenever I want. I take vacations without asking permission. I laugh with people who never once told me to tone it down. The old version of me, the one who waited for permission, who handed over her power with every compromise, she's gone. She served her purpose. She endured the long nights, the small silences, the swallowed tears. She carried me through the years I thought I wasn't enough. And now, I carry her in memory, but I don't live like her anymore. He said I'd never make it, but I did. You inspired me to walk away. I smile, not the vindictive kind, not the one I used to imagine when I was angry and invisible. This one's softer, wiser, the kind that comes from knowing you didn't just save yourself. You lit the path for someone else. I take a sip of tea. The silence wraps around me like armor. I turn and look directly at the camera. You know what they never see coming. The quiet ones, the loyal ones, the ones they kept under their thumb. Until we stop waiting and rise. My fingers rest on the newest jar of Wilder skin. Glass, weighty, unapologetically bold. My dream was never a phase, but his relevance was.